Dave Corke, who managed Judas Priest, he had this band come to him in Birmingham, and they were called Duran Duran, and they come to him and asked him if he wanted to manage them, and he said no, he didn't particularly think they was going to do anything, and he gave them to the guys who brought two brothers who owned the Rum Runner.
I saw Duran Duran at the Rum Runner, and I didn't think the singer was that great, but I loved the guitar player, Andy Taylor, who I thought was extremely talented, and they had a good drummer, but they looked good. I made a decision which would cost me millions of pounds, but I wouldn't change anything. That I went downstairs and I think I'd spoken to Mulligan and we were having a cup of tea, and I think he'd said to me something like, it's going to be chaos. Is this what you really want? There's us, there's the Bureau still in there, now it's Duran Duran. How are you going to manage all of these things? Obviously, we fashioned with the demise, with the Dee Harris situation, and Duran Duran would go whoosh quickly, and they would also break up with Andy Taylor with the Power Station and stuff. So, yes, I made the wrong decision, but it was just something capacity, I just hadn't got the hands.
John and I, with Stephen Duffy and Simon Colley, got a call from Fashion, and they said, look, we're playing one show at Barbarella's, will you come and support us? We were sort of honoured and terrified at the same time. We'd never played a venue that big. We'd been playing to 30 and 40 people, and suddenly it was a few hundred people. I remember the show well. Stephen Duffy walked on stage and he said, this is in front of a sort of punk crowd, sort of would have been 1979 by then, I suppose, but people are still pogoing and spitting and throwing things, and he walked on, and in his most effete voice he said, hello everybody, good evening, we're Duran Duran. This is a song that was inspired by the work of F. Scott Fitzgerald, and I thought, oh no, we are going to die. And then I had to push Foxtrot on my rhythm box very, very slowly, and it came on with this little beat. And we didn't really have much guitar because John mostly made a noise with the guitar at that point. But somehow it worked. It went down quite well. And I didn't realize until many, many, many years later that one of the people in the audience that night was Roger Taylor.
I was in the audience, and this rather strange band called Duran Duran trooped on as support band, and Nick kind of had one keyboard on it, looked like he got it on a Meccano set. The singer was quoting Oscar Wilde, I think. John was playing the guitar, and I think they had an oboe player or something, a little strange like that. But I thought they were really good. I thought these guys, I could just hear this. They had something in their music that had this real pop sensibility, I guess, in the music. And I just thought that this band could be the next big thing out of Birmingham. I don't know why, I just had that feeling. More than maybe Fashion, who were pretty popular at that time.
It was a pretty exciting time because they had different nights at the Rum Runner. One was a sort of jazz funk night. There was a DJ there called Dave Till, and we always used to stand there listening to this funk stuff thinking, actually that's a pretty good groove, isn't it? We'd go and start playing because we were rehearsing at the Rum Runner. We'd go up to the room on his night and start playing. They'd say, can someone turn them down, because it'd start interfering with what was going on there. And so I remember that time very fondly, and just trying to make our hybrid of rock music and dance music, and the Rum Runner really, it was so inspirational.
I mean, most of the music from Birmingham has been heavy, hasn't it? A lot of the classic music from Birmingham has had that heavy industrial sound, which kind of mirrors the city in a way. And I think we were probably in the first wave of bands to break away from that heritage of, heavy rock. So we always had this feeling that we knew that we could make it big because of this history of bands that had come from Birmingham.
In the day, I did like them, really, but I couldn't admit to it. So I used to wear my Duran Duran badge, ironically, on my granddad's coat with my spiked up hair and whatnot. And I love them. I still love them. I play them now. And also, knowing you know, that whole influencing, knowing that they're from down the road, or it does make you actually believe that you can do stuff, but you don't have to be from London.
I remember one day we were rehearsing in Birmingham by the Rum Runner Club, and in one room there was UB40 on that side, then there was us, and on the other side there was Dexy's Midnight Runners.
We used to rehearse in a disused, and we auditioned and rehearsed in a disused casino that used to be on the alley that went down to the Rum Runner. And while Duran Duran was starting, and they were rehearsing down in the club with bottles of chilled Chadley, as I remember. And we were in the rat-infested old casino with a space heater roaring away.
Well, you couldn't have had three more diverse bands together, but it was pretty extraordinary that this stuff was all coming out of Birmingham.
There was a group called the Killjoys, which featured Kevin Rowland, which was a semi-kind of punk group, released a couple of singles, didn't do a lot. I saw them once, he actually got green hair, but I thought he was quite interesting as a frontman. A very tough character as well, uncompromising.
This was a band that Kevin Rowland formed. It was a punk band, and they showed some promise in that scene. And Kevin came to see a band that I was in with another member of Dexys, Kevin Archer. We were in a three-piece punk band called The Negatives. And Kevin came along to see us with his brother, and decided that he liked Kevin's guitar playing. And so Kevin joined the Killjoys, who got an imminent tour supporting Generation X. And it didn't, the Killjoys split up pretty soon after that. And then I was approached by Kevin Archer to join a soul band. We hadn't got a name for it, but there was ideas about playing soul music in 1978, which kind of went against the grain, and definitely to use brass in the lineup and to create that kind of a sound. We deliberately set ourselves apart from any kind of scene. We weren't part of any kind of scene. Although we were helped, it's got to be said, we were helped by the two-tone thing was happening.
Dexys didn't want anything to do with that two-tone scene at all. We used the Madness Tour as a stepping stone, that was all. Dexys were completely outside that circle.
We used to rehearse around Birmingham. We had a few places. We squatted a couple of places, which was kind of unheard of, really, in Birmingham. As the copper who kicked the door in and sent the dogs in after us told us as we shouted through the letterbox, "Squatters' rights, not in going Birmingham, mate." And then the door went in, and that was it, you know. Off to Steelhouse Lane Nick, I think.
Before that first album, I mean, I really questioned the group's image, which was kind of very circus.
And it was very kind of quite futuristic, really. It was the precursor of what I guess New Romantic became. Kevin was a hairdresser, and he used to cut our hair and experiment quite a lot. But we changed just before we did the two-tone tour, because we'd supported the specials, and we could tell that people couldn't get their head around what we were doing, really, or our look.
So I thought it was wrong, and so we redeveloped it with the old sports bags and the black leather jackets and the kind of dockers kind of woolen hats on, go to work. Kevin would also insist on meetings at these cafes, never in pubs.
I mean, one of the tracks on the album is The Teams That Meet in Cafes.
There was a very kind of regimental feel to it all.
You know, we used to tour quite hard, and we hadn't got a very good deal with EMI Records. And after Gino got to number one, we wanted to renegotiate, and they just flatly refused. That's what prompted us to take the master tapes of the first album.
We're at the studio, Pete Wingfield's producing, it's coming towards an end. We've got the album, some great stuff on there. And Kevin took the tapes. I think he actually took a swing at Pete Wingfield as well, he was astonished, but took the tapes, they were hidden somewhere. And then we took on the hierarchy at EMI, or Kevin himself basically, demanding a better deal, which is fair enough, but obviously it was a weird way of doing it. I think the studio banned the group completely. The police were called, and but that was nothing. There was trouble all the time with that group.
Rightly or wrongly, they, we did that and hung on to them, and they did renegotiate. And that first album is kind of, you know, I was 19 when I recorded that, and that was kind of, and the band had been around for a couple of years before that. We were up and down the country and doing all the things that you could to get on. But that album was my testament of youth, really, I think, and ours, because we were. There was no pretense about that. That was our truth, really, and the album was captured at a crucial time.
The album stands the test of time. It's big with Paul Weller, it's big with the Mondays, it's big with everybody.
The producer, Pete Wingfield, was right for it, and the feeling in the band was just right, and it really did capture the essence of what we were.
It was a difficult period, to say the least, with Kevin obviously taking tapes from studios and threatening the likes of Malcolm McLaren and attacking Mickey Foot, who produced the Clash first album, and it was difficult. It was a real difficult balance with them.
But the pressure of touring was quite, you know, I do remember that the tours were pretty intense.
For me, they were just about the best live group out of everybody I managed, for intensity. And
we were definitely being really being worked. And cracks did start to show towards the end of 1980, and we weren't communicating. We were living it out of each other's pockets. There was a disagreement about the single. We recorded a single that the whole band, it was the first time, as I remember, that we weren't united, and we weren't discussing things. In fact, the whole split, there was no arguments, and 5 of us decided that we were going to leave and go back to Europe. And we were going to carry on, and we drove back through Europe with heavy hearts, really, without any plan, just knowing that, you know, that stage of our life was gone, really. And when we returned to London, EMI refused to let us in the building. We got no manager, we hadn't got a name.
I lost interest due to there were so many problems within the group, and with incidents at gigs and pressure.
And it's a real shame. I do wonder what would have happened if we would have stayed together. I wish we would have done.
I had relative success very, very quickly. My first single, Victims of the Riddle, was #1 in the first indie chart for 12 months. And wherever I was playing, thousands and thousands of people would turn up. If I was playing a pub, 2,000 people would turn up. And in those days, the pub circuit was a big enough circuit for you to be signed on. So, you know, big record company execs went to those kind of venues. But what they noticed with me was thousands of people were turning up, just taking over small towns to come and see me. So I got signed quite quickly. In 1981, I had to make a video for the song I Want to Be Free, because it went straight in at #8 into the charts, and we hadn't got the video ready, and I was on tour. So the night before we shot, I was playing Southampton, so a car had to pick me up in Southampton and take me to the studios in Wandsworth. And this video was made by Godley and Cream of 10cc, who went on to become the best video makers in the world. And they instantly got who and what I was about, you know, the kind of the rebel, the girl that didn't want to be like a typical girl. So they set the studio with 2 parents looking down on me while I'm smashing up a wedding cake and throwing away plastic spoons and stuff like that. And it was just really good fun and very liberating to make. So I spent the day being covered in plastic cutlery and just having to emerge out of it, and being wrapped in Bako foil and having to break out of it, and smashing up wedding cakes. So it was a giggle of a day, and it was great just being a girl, being allowed to be a tomboy. That song, by the way, went on to have quite a political life without me knowing. In the Maze prison, it was used as a song to be sung as a protest song against the prison guards. And in South Africa, before the abolition of apartheid, it was used in the prisons as a song of freedom. And they reinvented the lyrics to kind of voice their opinion. And I never knew that until at least 15 years later. And I wish I knew, because, you know, it's often seen as a jokey song, but it's had an incredible life around the world.